welcome back to another self-help video. I'm going to show you in this video how to fix your cab lights, in this case my lights on the tail of the car don't work, my front side marker light doesn't work, and my dash lights don't work. And the problem is with it's inside this box here. This is where your fuse box is located. I got the hood open, batteries there, fuses are there. After removing this box, you can inspect this SID connection here, and as you can see in mine, it is burnt down in there, so the wires are not making the correct connection. And if you look down in there, you can see the wires going up to the bottom of it. So what we're going to end up doing is removing this connection and soldering those wires together. First thing you want to do is remove your battery. So disconnect your terminals. You might have a metal plate that comes across the middle. Disconnect that. It'll be easier to work on this with the battery out of the way. Once the battery's removed, remove this bolt here, remove this one here, and this one down here. And once you do that, we may also remove this, but I'll start the video back up and show you. That'll give you make it a little easier to access our fuse box here. So I'm going to pause the video, do that. I'll be right back. Okay, so I got the cover off, the battery's out, the cover's off. You're going to have to remove from this right here. There's electrical tape that was wrapped around this, so you're going to have to remove. As you can see, I already removed it. So that's going to keep this cover, plastic cover, attached if you don't remove it. So this nut is off, so I can remove this terminal here. This connector is going to have to come off, and since I already loosened it, you'll be able to see that you have to press to remove it. All you do is you press that little button in, and then you can pull that straight out. There are tabs. There's one here, another one here. There's a plastic. This is so you can access the plastic box on the bottom. There's one here, and I think there's two on the back. Yeah, you can see one there and one there, but you get the gist of it. You just remove those plastic tabs. Let me see if I can, now that I have all that, let me see if I can put this down without it dropping and kind of show you guys. Unfortunately, from what I've read, there's a color scheme that has to exist on your SID connector, and if you don't have it, I'm not sure what those wires would consist of, but I know what wires I need to have and you would need to have. So I don't want you to actually, and there's another tab here you would have to pull that forward to pull this out. So this black box, just like I said, will get, as long as these are popped forward, that black box will be removed from the bottom, the base here. And look at, so this isn't for the weak at heart, but here's your wiring harness. Don't worry, we're not messing with these. What we're messing with is that SID connection that's back in here. And what I did, so you can see, there's a little channel that it slides into, so I was able to pull it up a little bit and out. You can't pull it out this way. The only way you're going to be able to get to it is by pushing it down through. And actually, here's, you got a better view of the wires over here. So this wire scheme is exactly what the website shows that I should have. You can see the purples, there's purple and white, and this is, like I said, I'm pushing on it, that's the SID. There's green, the green wires, there's brown and white. So everything looks to be this, exactly what this color scheme is suggesting. So I can go ahead and proceed with my repair. If you don't have this color scheme, and on this chart I'm going to share with you, do not proceed, because I don't know what connectors you're going to have to, what wires you're going to have to solder together. So let me get that color scheme. I'll share it with you now before we proceed with cutting those wires. Stand by. All right, welcome back, guys. So if I follow this sheet, I know you could barely see it, but this sheet, these are the 4 wires that are burnt on mine. I'm gonna just try splicing those 4 together, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then put it back together and see what happens. I'm trying a process of elimination. So that being said, what we're going to do is, this is the splicer pack and like I said, those wires I'm going to show you. Let's put this over here. The wind keeps, hopefully it won't blow it away. But so the first, you can see the burnt part of the splicer pack, right? And this is the first wire, which is the purple with the white stripe, brown with the white stripe, another brown with white stripe, and then there's a space, and then there's this one here, which is another brown with the white stripe. So what this is telling me, that sheet, it says take these 4 wires, cut them, and solder them together. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm gonna cut them close to this block, because like I said, I'm gonna put this all back together and test it. So our first wire is this burnt wire. This one here, you can see it's burnt in the block. Cutting it as close as possible. 1. The next one is brown with the white stripe. Brown with the white stripe. I tried pulling these things out of the splicer block. No good. Couldn't get it to come out. So that's that brown one, and you can see there's not a lot of room here. And then there's this last brown with the white stripe. So from what they say, these 4 wires, 1, 2. Let's try to move this one around. Are going to get soldered together. 1, 2, 3. And where's the burnt one? Here it is, right there. It's stuck. Pull that one out. There we go. So there's the 4th wire. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to pause it for a minute. What I'm going to do is use my wire strippers. I'm going to strip just enough off here so I can twist them together. And what I'm going to do is do the same for the other 3. And I'm using the smallest one here. There really isn't a lot of room, as you can see, to do this. So don't want to pinch your finger. And this one here, this is the burnt one, so make sure you give yourself enough. I mean, worst case scenario, if you have to, you can always put a jumper wire on. Yeah, this one's on there pretty good. Because the wire is burnt. Let me try up here. Just cut part of the wire off and try it again. You might run into the same thing. There we go. So I cut the tip of the wire off because that's where a lot of the melting occurred. And let's give myself a little more. Using the smallest one, it says 18 gauge. Like I said, I don't want to mess the wires up. Well, There's that one. That one looks good. That one looks good. Let me get a little more on this one. I think because that other one is melted, it's tougher to shave the jacket off of it. Try it one more time. Yeah, I just can't. Let me see if I can let me see if I can use this without cutting through the wire. There we go. Perfect. So I just put a little pressure on. I was able to get a little more of the jacket off. So what we're gonna do, I want to take all 4 of these wires, and like the guy says, twist them together. And I'm gonna do something a little different in my video than others have done. I'm gonna put these 4 together and see if all the lights come back together. Maybe it's just these 4. I don't have to do it to all of them. And I'm definitely gonna let you guys know. So there's 4 wires. I got my soldering iron ready. And I have some solder. So let's do it. I think a solder connection versus, you can use a wire nut if you want. That's what some people do. They take an electrical wire nut, twist it on there. Just make sure if you do that, or you can get splicer connectors. They're called butt connectors, and you can use a splicer connector on there. But I want to try. I'm going to use solder, since I know solder will make the best possible connection. Try not to breathe that crap in. As you can see, it goes from copper color to the actual solder color, the silver color. And let that cool down for a minute. I do have some shrink wrap. Very important, guys. Very important. This is what I'm just using this type of shrink wrap. And I know it's going to be way too much, but like I said, you can always fold it over after. I can feel that it's right there. And you just, if you had a heat gun, you could use your heat gun. Probably I would probably recommend that. And if you have a heat gun, or if you know someone who does, I would highly recommend you doing that, because you don't want to, or just be very careful not to touch the wires with the soldering iron, because it will melt them and it will cause a one of your leads to be exposed, and you don't want to do that. So I've done this lots of times on ATVs, dirt bikes, other cars, different types of connectors. And like I said, you just want to get as much, you kind of want to get at 360 around it. As you can see, it's probably the best we're going to get. I know some people use silicone. I think what I'm going to do, folks, is just pause it for a minute. I let that cool down, pause it. I could tell that the end's right there, so I'm going to give it plenty. Snip that, and that gives you plenty. You can always take a little electrical tape, bend it over, and wrap it with a piece of electrical tape. That'll help definitely keep it from coming apart. Stand by. Okay, welcome back. So what I did was, as you've seen before, solder these wires together. I took a piece of electrical tape and I just plopped it over the end of that just to keep it all together. You might notice there's some, this is just silicone where I cut the 4 wires. I just put, so you can use silicone, you can use it's called Forma gasket. You can get it at any auto parts store. And I just put it on there. Even though the wires were just barely shown, it just helps cover them so that in case, you know, to prevent anything shorting out, even though it shouldn't because there's nothing feeding it. So I'm gonna let you guys know, these 4 wires that I did cut, when I went in and turned my lights on, they actually turned on, the dash lights work now, and my front and rear marker lights now work. And that's just by soldering together those 4 wires. So, you know, I wouldn't do them, if you don't have to do them all, don't do them all. You know, see if you have a burnt mark like that, and if you do, then proceed, look at the diagram, proceed with, you know, soldering those wires together. I'm gonna show you how we put this back together real quick here, and then I'll pause it and I'll go over that diagram with you. So just this connection here, if you can, let's see, you can tuck it back up in that spot. Let's see if it'll fit. You should be able to. You don't have to actually connect it to anything, but see, that gets tucked up in there, and the other part, if I can, you know, show you, the other wiring part is right here. So that's all, yep, that's all tucked in there nicely. It's still together. So then this gets put this all back together. Little plastic clips. What you should do is, let me grab some electrical tape. I'll be right back, guys. All right, so I have some electrical tape, and like what they originally had this done, they originally had tape around this part here, and I'm doing the same thing. It just helps keep it all together. If you don't have electrical tape, don't worry about it. I'm gonna do it. It helps keep it together. So that just slides in place like that. There's the 2 screws here, the 2 bolts. Let's put 10 millimeter is what I have. So I'm gonna pop those 2 in now. One goes here. The other one goes as in the front here, as you've seen in the beginning of the video. It's just, you're just tightening it down to plastic. It's not metal to metal. So do yourself a favor, don't over tighten it. And what I would do, check your lights, see if, you know, they come back on. I was very fortunate by just soldering those 4 wires together, that the 4 lights, I'm sorry, the 3 issues that I had, the front back marker lights and my dash lights, they all came on. So that's tight enough. Don't forget, you got to put this wire also on. That's also 10 millimeter. And you have one more connection to make before you put your battery in. Make sure you reconnect this connector here. I'll show you. Try to pull it back up. There we go. You can kind of hear it click in like you just did. Before I put, and then of course you just put your battery back in. But I wanted to show you that anyways. I have the, let me take this off. I have the cover in the garage, so I'm not going to put it on, but I just wanted to show you. There's that bolt there. There's the other 10 millimeter. That's also 10 millimeter. Put your battery back on, and you don't have to start the car. Just turn your lights on, and you should see the marker lights turn on, your dash lights turn on. If in fact you had the same problem that I had. Stand by, guys. I'm gonna pause it for a minute. I'm gonna go in, and what I'll do is, because we're all done here, so I'm gonna put my plastic cover on over this, put my battery on, button it up.